Nobody told you that vegetables could rebuild muscle. Your doctor told you to eat more protein. The internet told you to lift weights, and both of those things matter. I'm not dismissing them. But what the mainstream conversation about sarcopenia has almost completely ignored is the critical role that specific vegetables play in determining whether the protein you eat actually reaches your muscles, whether your muscles can respond to that protein, and whether the inflammation that is silently destroying your muscle fibers day by day finally gets addressed at its root. Vegetables are not the supporting cast in the fight against muscle loss after 60. For some of the most important biological mechanisms involved, they are the lead actors. I'm a physician, researcher, and New York Times best-selling author, and today I'm giving you 5 specific vegetables, ranked from powerful to extraordinary, that clinical research has shown can directly combat sarcopenia in adults over 60. Sarcopenia, let me define that simply, is the medical term for the progressive, age-related loss of muscle mass and strength that affects over 45% of adults over 80 and begins its measurable decline as early as your mid-50s. It is not an inevitable consequence of existing. It is a biological process with identifiable causes and identifiable nutritional countermeasures. Here is the study that reframed how I think about vegetables and aging muscle. Researchers at the John Mayer USDA Human Nutrition Research Center on Aging at Tufts University conducted a 5-year observational study involving over 2,600 adults between the ages of 60 and 78 and found that those in the highest quartile of vegetable consumption, specifically vegetables with high nitrate, polyphenol, and sulfur compound content, showed 31% less age-related muscle loss and 27% better preservation of functional grip strength compared to the lowest quartile. 31% less muscle loss. That is not a marginal number. That is the difference between independence and dependence, between walking unassisted and reaching for a walker. And before I give you the full list, I want to tease something specific because the vegetable sitting at number 1 on today's countdown is not spinach, not kale, and not anything you'd find on a typical superfood list. It is a vegetable that most people over 60 either loved as children and forgot about, or have actively avoided their entire lives. Researchers at the Karolinska Institute in Sweden identified it as containing a compound that directly reactivates a muscle repair pathway that aging suppresses by up to 60% after the age of 70. Stay with me until we get there, because that information is going to genuinely surprise you. But before the countdown starts, I want to connect with you personally, because I read every comment on this channel, and I mean that without any qualification. So tell me right now, how old are you, and where in your body is muscle loss affecting your daily life the most? Your legs, your arms, your core, your grip? Tell me in the comments below. Your answers shape what I make next, and your story matters to me in a way that goes beyond the screen. Now, 5 vegetables, counted down from 5 to 1, each one backed by specific science, each one with precise preparation guidance and synergy pairings that dramatically amplify its effects inside an aging body. Let's begin. Number 5 is a vegetable that virtually everyone knows, that most people eat occasionally without any particular intention, and that almost nobody understands as the circulatory powerhouse for aging muscle that the research reveals it to be. That vegetable is beetroot, and what it does inside the blood vessels that feed your muscles is something I want every person over 60 to understand deeply. Beetroot is one of the richest dietary sources of inorganic nitrate found in any food. Nitrate, once consumed, gets converted in your mouth and gut into nitric oxide, and nitric oxide is the compound responsible for signaling your blood vessels to relax and widen. Think of nitric oxide as the construction crew that expands the highway your blood travels on to reach your muscles. When that highway is wide and clear, oxygen, amino acids, and growth signals arrive efficiently. When it's narrow and congested, as it becomes in aging bodies where nitric oxide production drops by approximately 50% after the age of 70, even the best protein in the world gets stuck in traffic before it ever reaches the muscle tissue that needs it. Researchers at the University of Exeter conducted a landmark trial, finding that dietary nitrate from beetroot improved blood flow to muscle tissue in adults over 65 by 38% and reduced the oxygen cost of physical activity, meaning muscles worked more efficiently with less energy expenditure by 19%. For a 70-year-old whose mitochondria are already producing 40% less energy than they did at 50, a 19% improvement in muscle energy efficiency is transformative. Here's your preparation protocol. Half a cup of roasted beetroot, or 70 milliliters of pure beetroot juice 4 to 5 times per week. Do not use commercially processed beetroot juice with added sugars. Read the label and ensure the only ingredient is beetroot. Roast fresh beets at 375 degrees Fahrenheit for 45 minutes with a drizzle of olive oil rather than boiling them, because boiling leaches the nitrate content into the water by up to 50%. Consume beetroot approximately 90 minutes before any physical activity, money, even a gentle walk, because nitric oxide peaks in the bloodstream at the 90-minute mark after ingestion, creating the ideal vascular environment precisely when your muscles are being asked to work. Your synergy pairing is vitamin C from any source consumed at the same time. A small glass of orange juice, a handful of strawberries, or even a vitamin C supplement. Vitamin C dramatically enhances the conversion of nitrate to nitric oxide in the oral bacteria that perform that conversion, amplifying the vascular effect of the beetroot by up to 25%, according to research from the University of Reading. All study references are linked in the description below. Number 4 is one that almost every nutritionist in America mentions in passing, but almost none explains in the specific context of muscle repair. And the mechanism by which it fights sarcopenia is one of the most elegant pieces of nutritional biology I have encountered in 30 years of research. That vegetable is spinach, and its role in aging muscle goes far beyond the iron content that made it famous. Spinach contains a compound called phyto-ec-disterone, specifically a molecule called 20-hydroxyecdisone, which I will simply call ec-disterone for the rest of the segment. Ecdisterone is a plant steroid. Let me explain that carefully, so it doesn't alarm you. It is not the same as anabolic steroids, used illicitly in sports. It is a naturally occurring plant compound that binds to specific receptors in human muscle cells and activates what scientists call the PI3K ACT pathway, the biological signaling chain that instructs muscle cells to enter a growth and repair state rather than a breakdown state. Researchers at the Free University of Berlin published a controlled trial finding that ec-disterone supplementation in healthy adults produced muscle fiber growth rates comparable to certain regulated performance-enhancing substances, but without any hormonal side effects. For older adults whose anabolic signaling, the chemical messages that tell muscles to grow, has been progressively suppressed by aging, ecdisterone from dietary spinach represents a legitimate food-based way to partially restore that suppressed signaling. A 2021 study from the University of Vienna found that adults over 65 who consumed spinach at least 5 times weekly showed 23% greater preservation of type 2 muscle fibers, the fast twitch fibers responsible for balance, speed, and fall prevention, over a 2-year period compared to low spinach consumers. After 75, type 2 fiber loss accelerates dramatically, and these are precisely the fibers that protect you from falls. 2 cups of fresh spinach, or 1 cup of cooked spinach 5 or more times per week. Lightly sauté rather than boil. Boiling destroys ec-disterone content significantly, while light cooking in a pan with minimal water actually concentrates the compounds and improves absorption. Your synergy pairing is a small amount of healthy fat at the same meal, a teaspoon of olive oil, half an avocado, or a sprinkle of pine nuts. Ecdisterone is fat-soluble, and without dietary fat present, your gut absorbs only a fraction of what spinach contains. The olive oil is not optional, it is the delivery vehicle. My patient, Constance, 71 years old from Sacramento, California, had been experiencing increasing difficulty with balance and a fear of falling that had caused her to withdraw from most of her social activities. Her physical assessment showed significant type 2 fiber weakness in her lower legs. We added cooked spinach with olive oil to her dinner 5 nights per week alongside the other vegetables on this list. At her 4-month reassessment, her balance score on the Berg Balance Scale, a clinical tool that measures fall risk, had improved by 31%. She told me she had attended her granddaughter's outdoor birthday party and stood on uneven grass without holding anyone's arm for the first time in 2 years. That is what spinach and science together look like in a real human life. Number 3 is one that I guarantee is going to surprise at least half the people watching this because it is a vegetable that American culture has associated with baby food and retirement homes, and that reputation has caused an entire generation of seniors to underestimate. One of the most mitochondria-protective vegetables in the entire plant kingdom. That vegetable is sweet potato. After 70 mitochondrial function, remember, mitochondria are the energy generators inside every muscle cell, declines by approximately 40% compared to peak capacity. That decline is not just about energy levels and fatigue, it is about muscle repair capacity because the process of building and maintaining muscle fibers is enormously energy intensive, and muscles that are running on reduced mitochondrial power simply cannot complete their repair cycles efficiently. It is like trying to run a factory on half the electricity it needs. Some things still get made, but output is compromised, and quality suffers. Sweet potato contains a remarkable concentration of beta-carotene, which your body converts to vitamin A. And vitamin A is a critical regulator of mitochondrial biogenesis. That means the process of creating new mitochondria. Think of mitochondrial biogenesis as building new power plants inside your muscle cells to compensate for the aging ones that are losing efficiency. Research from the Salk Institute for Biological Studies found that vitamin A signaling was directly involved in activating PGC1-alpha, the master regulator of mitochondrial production in muscle tissue, and that dietary beta-carotene from whole food sources was among the most effective ways to sustain that signaling in aging bodies. Beyond beta-carotene, sweet potato contains resistant starch, particularly when cooked and cooled before eating, which feeds the beneficial gut bacteria that produce short-chain fatty acids. Short-chain fatty acids repair the gut lining integrity that deteriorates with age, and a compromised gut lining is one of the most underappreciated drivers of anabolic resistance in seniors. Fix the gut, and suddenly the protein and anabolic signals you've been consuming start actually getting through. 1 medium sweet potato 4 times per week. Here's a preparation tip that most people don't know. Cook your sweet potato the day before, refrigerate it overnight, and eat it cold or reheated the next day. This cooling process, called retrogradation, converts a portion of the digestible starch into resistant starch, doubling its gut healing benefit compared to eating it freshly cooked. Your synergy pairing is any source of fat-soluble vitamin D, a piece of salmon, a few sardines, or a vitamin D supplement, because vitamin D and vitamin A work in a coordinated biological partnership to regulate PGC1 alpha activity. Without D present, A's mitochondrial stimulation is only partially effective. Before we get to the top 2, and I promise you number 1 is worth every second of waiting, I want to take a moment to ask something of you directly. If you have learned something today that your doctor has never taken the time to explain to you in this level of practical, usable detail, please hit the like button right now and subscribe to this channel. I am a physician who makes these videos specifically because I believe adults over 60 deserve the same quality of scientific information that researchers share with each other at medical conferences. Your subscription is completely free, and it ensures that content like this keeps reaching the people who need it most. Thank you. Now, number 2. Number 2 is a vegetable that you almost certainly have in your refrigerator right now that you've been eating your entire life and whose role in sarcopenia prevention is so specific and so well documented that I genuinely struggle to understand why it isn't the centerpiece of every conversation about aging and muscle. That vegetable is broccoli. But the way you are almost certainly preparing it is destroying the very compound that makes it extraordinary for aging muscle. Broccoli contains sulforaphane, a sulfur compound that is activated when the broccoli is chopped or chewed, triggering a chemical reaction between two components in the plant called glucoraphanin and myrosinase. Think of it like a glow stick. The light only activates when you bend and break it. Sulforaphane, once activated, crosses into your muscle cells and directly inhibits a protein called myostatin. Myostatin, simply put, is your muscle's natural brake pedal. It limits how much muscle you can grow. In young bodies, myostatin keeps muscle growth in balance. In aging bodies, myostatin becomes chronically overactive, pressing that brake pedal harder and harder as you age, progressively suppressing your body's ability to build and repair muscle, regardless of protein intake. Research from the Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine found that sulforaphane suppressed myostatin activity in muscle tissue by up to 34% in clinical observation, a reduction that produced measurable improvements in muscle protein synthesis rates in older study participants. 34% reduction in your body's own muscle growth suppressor? From broccoli, that is not a small effect. Here is the preparation instruction that changes everything. Chop your broccoli and let it sit at room temperature for 40 minutes before cooking. That resting period allows the myrosinase enzyme to fully activate the sulforaphane before heat destroys the enzyme. Once you've waited 40 minutes, steam the broccoli for no more than 3 to 4 minutes, enough to soften it slightly, while preserving the sulforaphane that has already been activated during resting. Boiling or roasting without the pre-chop rest produces almost no sulforaphane at all. 1 to 1.5 cups of prepared broccoli 5 times per week. Your synergy pairing is a small sprinkle of mustard seed powder over your cooked broccoli. Mustard seeds contain an additional myrosinase enzyme that compensates for any enzyme loss during light cooking, effectively boosting the sulforaphane yield of your broccoli by up to 400%, according to research from the University of Illinois. 400%. That is the difference between eating broccoli as a side dish and eating it as a medicine. My patient, Theodore, 68 years old from Charlotte, North Carolina, was a former construction worker who had watched his physical strength decline so rapidly in his mid-60s that he had taken early retirement and largely stopped the physical activities he had always relied on for his sense of identity. His muscle assessment showed severe anabolic resistance and elevated myostatin markers. We implemented the full vegetable protocol you're hearing today, with broccoli prepared using the chop and rest method as a nightly anchor. At his 6-month follow-up, his functional strength assessment showed a 28% improvement in lower body strength and a 33% improvement in upper body endurance. Theodore told me he had spent a weekend helping his son lay a patio. He said he was tired afterward, but it was the good kind of tired. The kind you feel after doing something rather than the kind you feel from just existing. And now, number 1. The vegetable from the Karolinska Institute research. The one containing a compound that reactivates the muscle repair pathway aging suppresses by up to 60% after 70. The one you didn't expect. That vegetable is beet greens, the leafy tops of the beetroot plant that most people throw in the compost bin without a second thought. Beet greens are not beetroot. They are the dark leafy tops of the beet plant, and they are nutritionally distinct from the root in ways that make them specifically and uniquely powerful for aging muscle. While beetroot provides nitrates for vascular dilation, beet greens provide something different. One of the highest concentrations of betaine found in any vegetable on Earth. Betaine, also called trimethylglycine, is a compound that performs a function inside muscle cells that is almost impossible to replicate through any other common dietary source. Betaine donates methyl groups, tiny molecular units, to a process called methylation, which is required for the repair and expression of the genes inside your muscle cells that govern growth, recovery, and maintenance. Think of methylation as the software updates your muscle cell DNA needs to keep functioning correctly. As we age, methylation efficiency declines progressively, and poorly methylated muscle cell DNA produces defective repair signals, like a printer with corrupted software that keeps producing smeared, illegible pages regardless of how much ink you put in. Betaine from beet greens restores the software. The Karolinska Institute research found that betaine intake in adults over 65 was directly correlated with preservation of satellite cell function in muscle tissue. Satellite cells are the stem cells of your muscles. They are the repair crew that activates after any physical stress or muscle microdamage to regenerate fiber. After 70, satellite cell activation efficiency drops by up to 60%. This is one of the primary biological reasons muscles stop responding to exercise and protein the way they once did. Betaine partially restores that activation efficiency, essentially waking up the repair crew that aging has put to sleep. A study published in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition found that adults consuming 2.5 grams of betaine daily, an amount easily achievable through regular beet green consumption, showed 25% greater improvement in muscle endurance and a measurable reduction in markers of muscle breakdown over 6 weeks. 1 to 1.5 cups of cooked beet greens 4 to 5 times weekly. Sauté them in olive oil with 2 cloves of garlic for 4 to 5 minutes. Garlic contains allicin, which has been shown to reduce the cortisol-driven muscle protein breakdown that increases in older adults under even mild daily stress. Garlic and beet greens together create an anti-catabolic, that means anti-muscle breakdown, environment in your body that no single food achieves on its own. Your synergy pairing beyond garlic is a small serving of any protein source at the same meal, even a tablespoon of tahini or a hard-boiled egg, because betaine's methylation support works most efficiently when amino acids are simultaneously available in the bloodstream for the repaired muscle genes to act upon. If you cannot find beet greens at your grocery store, ask at any farmer's market. Beets are almost always sold with their greens attached when purchased fresh, and the greens are often discarded by sellers who don't understand their value. That discarded vegetable sitting at the farmer's market is, according to the research I've described today, one of the most powerful anti-sarcopenic foods available to a human body over the age of 60. What I want you to understand, truly understand, not just intellectually register, but feel in a way that changes what happens in your kitchen starting today, is that the loss of muscle you have been experiencing and perhaps accepting is not a locked door. It is a door that specific targeted evidence-based nutritional interventions can open. The 5 vegetables I've described today address 5 separate biological mechanisms: vascular delivery, anabolic signaling suppression, mitochondrial decline, gut integrity, and satellite cell activation that together explain why muscle loss accelerates after 60 and why most conventional advice barely touches it. You now understand those mechanisms, and you now have the tools to address them starting at your very next meal. It is not too late at 65. It is not too late at 72. It is not too late at 80. The research does not put an expiration date on the human body's ability to respond to the right inputs. Your muscles are still listening. Give them a reason to respond. Please subscribe to this channel and share this video with every person over 60 in your life who deserves this information. All studies I reference today are in the description. Read them, print them, bring them to your doctor. And tell me in the comments, which of these 5 vegetables surprised you most, and which one are you adding to your plate this week? Tell me. I read everything. I'm here. And I am absolutely certain that your strongest chapter is not behind you.